Hi, I'm Cynthia Schiller. Please like and subscribe where we help and heal one day at a time. We're going to talk about the two different types of narcissists. They're different categories, but in these two, it's egotistical and emotional. So sometimes when you're dealing with your narcissist, the egotistical ones want you to uphold their image. That is what is so important to them. That's why they go after certain supplies. That's why they gravitate to certain communities, maybe higher status, maybe they want to be on the best baseball team. They just try to do whatever is going to bring up their ego. They create this false image of what their image is what they want. So that's what they try to portray. And that's where it gets confusing. The gaslighting, emotional narcissists are a little bit different. They're not as into their image. A lot of times, they'll play the victim, and they'll often start fights to get that emotional connection. They're striving for this emotional connection to get away from their emotions. It's kind of like a messed up way of thinking. And they'll pick fights because it actually does something to their amygdala. It's calming when they lie or when they start fights. It changes their brain chemistry. And they are changing our brain chemistry too. Actually causes brain damage to us. So please look at my video on that. It's a really important one, even if you don't watch my other ones. But we often try to figure out what's going on in their lives, in their minds with the new supply. And we got to remember that we are two different species, that it's almost like we can't relate to them because we haven't experienced them, what they're going through. They have this, we all have this inner voice, which kind of tells us the right and wrong, how to react to certain things. And sometimes when you get in an argument, that inner voice is a little bit delayed, but after you start seeing the person's face change, like they're starting to cry or they're getting too frustrated, usually our inner voice will kick in. Either we need to tone it down or we need to take a moment to listen and relate to what they're trying to say to us. But their inner voice doesn't really seep out that much. Or if it does, they try to push it back. So they just are in more of a childlike state, where they don't have that stop and think mentality yet. And you'd think you'd be able to acquire it, but they come to this bridge that they're too scared to cross. So they don't get to the stop and think lesson being learned. They don't use it, apply it, see how it works. They're just concerned on what's going to work right now because their emotions are getting to them. And it's really confusing. And sometimes they'll pick fights, and then other times they give us a silent treatment that they don't want to be in a fight, but they receive their supply during the silent treatment through our frustrations. It gives them like a sense of power, or if they find it more effective at that moment, they'll get into these full-fledged fights. They'll have that rage. It's because their inner feelings are welling up, that they don't know how to handle it correctly. And they're trying to counterbalance it, get that rage out to kind of get their feelings out. But they do it in the wrong way. And it can be very destructive in a relationship. And I know, like, some of us sometimes wonder, what's going on with this new supply? And I'm doing a little more research before I do an actual video on this. But as far as some traits, Elvis had a lot of traits. I think you guys have heard of him. And he, I'm doing all this research and everybody was like, he's such a great guy, had such a kind heart. Not one person would not like adore him. He's fantastic. I remember this one story where he gave, this poor person, homeless man, whatever it was, his watch. I think it was a Rolex watch worth thousands upon thousands of dollars, and just gave him the watch. And he would do things like that. Like, he was what seems like a kind-hearted person. So even though his wife Priscilla was not a new supply, it was still his supply. He treated her terrible. He also saw her as an object. He couldn't, they have the splitting where they see things as all black or all white. So in the beginning, she was seen as, you know, the romance. And then after she had a baby, she was seen as like a mother. He couldn't combine the romance and the motherhood and everything like that. So he also, with prescription drugs, saw that those were okay, but illegal street drugs were despicable and horrible. So he saw things differently, as opposed to a drug's going to do whatever a drug's going to do to you. So when we're looking at the new supply, you know, we're looking from the outside in, just like the fans of Elvis, looking from the outside in, like, wow, what an amazing person. But just remember, behind closed doors, um, you know, Elvis was very controlling, made her change her hair color, criticized her, basically picked out her clothes or told her to change. She couldn't go outside without makeup. She had to be presentable with makeup all the time in front of him. So he doesn't really even know what she looks like, doesn't even want to know what she looks like without the makeup. Like, I need my perfect image. So narcissists are really confusing. If they're egotistical, they will be like that with you. They will cut you down, ask you why you're wearing what you're wearing, or cut you down that somehow something you said embarrassed them, or that you weren't quiet enough or humble enough. They'll tear at you, and they just don't have that inner voice that tells them to, like, you know, be respectful, or to stop and think of how it's going to affect us. And that's because they are stuck in some developmental state that traumatized them. But we shouldn't feel sorry for them, because we just enable them. Narcissists hate boundaries. Boundaries are almost impossible to set with a narcissist. And a lot of times in the love bombing stage, it's like an unspoken boundaries that we set up, you know. We could say, I love seeing you every Friday. Next couple Fridays, you want to come over? And they'll say yes. And so we kind of think that, I thought we kind of established this. But with their boundary setting, let's say you didn't set that up in the love bombing stage, and then you ask for something, then it's seen to them as going outside of what they were willing to give you. It's seen as a burden to them. Unless it's maybe something that they want, like to go to hockey games. But if you just say, every Friday and Saturday, can we spend time? Unless they know what it is, they're going to take offense to you wanting to take them away from the time that they want to do whatever they want. But the main point of this video is you have your emotional and also your egotistical. So there are different ways. If you have an emotional one, you should not say using the word you, because it makes them reflect inward too much. Like, you hurt my feelings, or when you do this, you got to really avoid using the word you, or that's going to just cause things to go south quickly. It's all going to get turned around on you. So just remember, whenever you bring something to them, it's going to turn around on you. I used to fight with my brother, just kind of play fighting, and we did like karate or whatever. And so if I did something to him, he'd come back so much harder. And that's what it's like with a narcissist is, you throw one little punch, and that's like a communication punch. And if they don't like it, they'll come back, not equal. They'll come back at you so much harder. So anytime you're going to try to discuss something that a narcissist doesn't want, just be prepared for a backlash. And that's where it gets hard, because we're trying to make it better, and it gets 100 times worse after we try to discuss something. So just be aware, if you have an egotistical one, you don't want to cut down their ego. But we also don't want to be enablers, and that's where it's hard, because it's kind of sad, but that's why they're with us, to maintain their ego. It's always nice giving people compliments, You know, we should uphold our image of who we really are. But if you, let's say, lose a job, or I don't know, maybe go through cancer, lose your hair, or certain things like that, like um, it hurts the narcissist. They don't look at, you know, I need to have empathy that she lost her hair because she's going through chemo. They'll look at it as like, great, now we can't go out, or you better wear a wig. Um, and that can be really hurtful because you're already going through other things and they don't look at what you're going through. They're looking at how what you're going through is affecting them. So if you lost your job, do they focus on, wow, now you got to do your, you know, job searching again. And how do you feel like you're missing your coworkers? And, you know, was it justified? You know, just talking through it, you know, what do you think would make it better next time? You know, where did you fail? Where they're trying to help us, offer suggestions, things like that. But they'll look at it as like, great, now I have to work harder, or, you know, they'll look down on us that we disrupted their life. And it's something that sometimes is not even intentional. And they just don't have the inner voice that will pop through. It's in there. Every now and then you'll see it. And you could tell that they know what they're doing, because they know how to act in front of other people, just like Elvis. I'll let you know if he was a narcissist for sure or not, but he just had to have that image. He was kind, but what was in his heart? A lot of it is like, it's easy to give stuff away when you're super rich. Like, you know, they don't even think, just take it. It feels good to do that, you know, but I want to do a video on that to see a little bit more. But I brought him up for those of you who are wondering, what is it like with this new supply? They're going through what you went through. You know, there's different stages of that narcissistic cycle. At first, there's that love bombing, and then they devalue you and they discard you. There are patterns, there are cycles. Sometimes they're predictable to like the month or the day or the year. You can tell what their cycles are like. They can only uphold the image for a certain amount of time, then they get exhausted, or they need maybe a different sense of fuel. At first, the fuel they wanted was for you to be all snuggly and adoring of them. And then for some reason, it's just not cutting it. So they decide, let's fight, you know, and they'll nitpick at everything. They're just not happy on the inside. So don't look at it as they're not happy with you, because, you know, often we do try. Everybody's human. Everybody's going to make mistakes, or everybody's going to not always foresee what somebody else would like, or we see what they would like, but we didn't foresee what the outcome would be. Just like, I don't know, I'm going to go buy groceries today. I didn't foresee getting in an ice storm and crashing my car. You know, and then you have a big old fight. Same with narcissists is like, when you're in a relationship with them, you're trying to see, is this safe? You know, going to the store, is it safe? It should be safe. You know, I checked the weather, everything's safe. Just like when you talk to a narcissist, okay, they're calm. It's safe to talk to them. And certain things just out of the blue happen. They sideswipe you. And a lot of times it's self-sabotage. I know in the relationships I've been in with narcissists, there were cycles. And every time we started getting along, it would go south. A lot of it is that's when we're comfortable too. So we settle into this comfort, like, oh, finally, you know, and it's like, okay, you know, if you do the traditional male female, like, oh, I can call him a little bit more now because, you know, we're getting along. And then they're like, "Ah, you stepped outside the boundaries," or just little things like that. And you're like, I thought we were getting along. Like, you should be happy whether I call or you call. And it's just the little things. Um, you know, or they promise to come over and all of a sudden now they're not coming over till hours later. Or you say, okay, that's fine, you know, go hang out at the bar, just come by afterwards. And they kind of take advantage of it. Like, I had a Valentine's where I made this big, huge homemade Chinese food that I've never made, homemade egg rolls, everything. And he just wanted to stop at the bar. And I said, that's fine. But we're supposed to have dinner, you know, and he worked till 11. So then he went out, and you know, it just, Like, I reheated that meal so many times. By the time he came over, it really wasn't all that good because it was reheated so many times. Because he didn't just stop. He got caught up in what he was doing as opposed to, this is our Valentine's together. Um, Little things like that. It's self-serving to them. And the way I decorated, he didn't like this. Like, I had candles out, and he thought it was like a murder scene or something. And I'm like, well, he is a cop, so he does see murder scenes. But it's like, like, I really tried, and I don't know, tried to decorate, and they're just never happy. So they just don't have that inner thought. Like, she did take the time. Maybe even said it reminded me of something like that. But he didn't say thanks for taking the time doing that. But this is a story that I'm thinking of. It was just cut down after cut down, and they just don't have the inner. They don't have the ability to let that inner voice come through. So they know how to act. They can see what hurts people, and they still do it. So just be aware there are those egotistical and emotional ones. That's going to cause the difference in reactions on how you talk to them. And that's where the eggshell walking comes in. You kind of have to tippy toe around everything. But once you do that, they devalue you. So it's a never ending cycle to where, unless you stroke their ego and feed into them, or give into everything, you have to walk on eggshells to kind of get your point across in the right way, to hopefully have them listen. And once you do that, because you can't be bold with them, they'll drop you in a heartbeat. So when it's impossible to win. It is impossible to win, because you can either enable them and they're going to get worse, or you can tippy toe around them and they're going to devalue you. So if you're frustrated now and you go with what they're doing, just like a spoiled kid, you give them everything, they're going to expect everything and more. Just like your drug addicts, the first high was great. I need more and more and more to get back to that high that I had in the beginning. So that's what the narcissist is doing, is making it worse and worse and worse, unless you walk on eggshells. Once you do that, game over. It honestly is game over. So please like and subscribe. I just thought it was some interesting things to talk about. Please comment below if you have any topics you'd like to talk about, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good day.